grades. Yu-Wan thought the punishment was light, but Ruchel, with a more relieved face, disagrees. It was enough, she says, thanking the two with a genuine smile. I'm okay, thanks to you. The moment of gratitude unites the group. Even Doko Yan shows a rare, subtle smile. They agree that things got easier with Yu-Wan as class president, but the peace didn't last long. After class ended, the three expelled bullies were waiting for them in the hallway. Scared, Ruchel hides behind Yu-Wan. The group's irritation returns with full force. This time, the aggressors weren't empty-handed. They were armed. Facing the weapons pointed at them, Slight takes a step forward with a dangerous calm. What do you want? Facing the three armed bullies, Slight remained unfazed. Their leader demanded an explanation for the humiliation of the recording, which, according to them, had ruined their grades. Yu-Wan glanced over and noticed the substitute professor watching from a distance, doing absolutely nothing, even seeing that his students had drawn weapons. It was contempt for the lower dimensions in its purest form. The shouting started again, but Slight, with a frightening calm, just stared at them and said a single word: barbarians. The offense was the trigger. The leader lunged forward, his sword pointed. What did you say, you inferior creature? In response, Slight unsheathed his own sword. With a casual, almost careless movement, a fan of golden light cut through the air. The bully's sword split in two, the blade flying off. The shock was total. Yu-Wan, analyzing the strike with his eyes, saw the golden energy that enveloped Slight's blade and learned a new concept. Meanwhile, the aggressor was trembling with fear. Slight advanced, placing his golden sword on the boy's neck, who fell to his knees, terrified. If you had asked politely, Slight said, his voice cold, I would have talked. His personality seemed to have completely changed, becoming cold and authoritarian. As the bully's friends cursed, Slight turned to the professor. What's the punishment for students who attack classmates with real weapons? The professor, caught off guard, looked away and said the academy encouraged fighting practice. But I never agreed to a fight, Slight retorted. The professor tried to turn the tables, accusing him of drawing his sword first and lying about not having seen the previous insults. Slight's fury exploded, and the golden aura on his sword intensified. Before he could do anything, he felt a flick on his cheek. It was Doko Yeon. With a simple touch, she dispelled Slight's aura, bringing him back to reality. Stunned, he made his sword disappear, while the professor, seeing that he had lost control, left muttering. Doko then scolded Slight, and Yu-Wan realized that the golden sword seemed to affect his friend's personality. Later, during a meal, Yu-Wan reprimanded Slight for his impulsive attitude. Regretful, the blonde apologized, insisting he could control the sword. Doko interrupted the argument, reminding everyone of Professor Yumina's warning. If they continued to show off so much power, the hostility from other students would only get worse. She then turned to Yu-Wan. You're the representative. What's the plan? Yu-Wan thought for a moment. The problem was the academy's system, based on prejudice and birth status. He asked the group, what does it take to win the favor of the masses? Power, they suggested. Yu-Wan smiled. Something else. Something we already have. He made a square with his fingers, imitating a camera. Looks. The plan was simple and brilliant. Create a channel on Union Tuber to show their daily activities, build a positive public image, and change the perception people had of them. The first recording was a training fight between Doko Yan and a reluctant Slight. To force him to fight seriously, Doko attacked him for real, throwing him to the ground and taunting him until he finally fought back with everything he had. While filming the spectacular fight, Yu-Wan explained to a worried Ruchel that showing their true skills was the best way to intimidate future aggressors. The channel was an explosive success. The fight video went viral, and other videos showing the group in casual moments, playing games, having tea with Professor Yumina, Ruchel making funny faces while trying new foods, won over the audience. They became the biggest celebrities in the academy. The next step, a live stream of their first climb up the tower. On the scheduled day, a crowd gathered to watch them. Yumina praised the initiative, and the group prepared. Yu-Wan, still in his school uniform, stood out from the others who were wearing combat gear. With conviction, he straightened his tie and stated that this was enough. Yumina teleported them to the tower entrance, where they were met with more stares, now of admiration and curiosity. He announced they would stay for 3 days and 2 nights, and, with a floating mini-camera recording everything, he led his team into the biggest challenge of their lives, wishing his ancestors could see him. Inside the tower, the rules were different. As Yumina had explained in a previous meeting, the floors, or rooms, constantly changed their layout. death wasn't permanent. Defeat usually resulted in being teleported to the entrance, with the student pendant allowing a return to the same point. However, she admitted that there were areas where death was, in fact, the end of the line. On the first floor, they faced claw scythers, slimy monsters that were easily sliced up by Slight and Dako Yan. Meanwhile, Yu Wan was trying to extract the concept of fire from a torch, but to his surprise, his power didn't work. Distracted, he was almost attacked, but Eve protected him, turning into a chain of spikes. It was then that Ruchel sprang into action, revealing a wild side with red eyes and sharp claws, tearing the creatures apart with ferocity. Dako Yan sensed a more powerful energy gathering and alerted the group. Yu Wan used his eyes and saw an obelisk forming a summoning circle. "Ruchel, destroy that now!" he ordered. With a devastating blow, she shattered the obelisk before the elite monster could appear, getting its core as a reward. At that moment, Slight noticed something. Ruchel's hair, once light pink, now had multicolored streaks. Yu Wan explained that this was the manifestation of Ruchel's furnace heart concept, which burned emotions to generate power. Worried, the girl asked if she had been scary. Dako Yan, with her usual coldness, said that if she lost control, she would stop her herself, which only made Ruchel more uneasy. Yu Wan intervened, promising to help her control her power, and the group was transported to the second floor. The new scene was a green field. Yu Wan took the opportunity to analyze the core Ruchel had obtained, learning the concepts of acid and fusion. He fed Eve with the acid and infused the fusion into his own weapon. Monsters, in the form of evil spirits, began to appear. Dako Yan destroyed one with a blast of energy and provokingly suggested that Yu Wan take care of the entire floor by himself to speed up his growth. After a moment of hesitation, he accepted the challenge. Stretching his arms, he summoned Eve, who, upon passing through a magic circle, transformed into a massive firearm. With a command, the weapon began to fire continuous barrages, annihilating the spirits in seconds. Slight watched, shocked, wishing his kingdom had such firepower. Dako Yan, though impressed, noted a flaw. The weapon was useless in close quarters combat. As if to prove her point, a spirit silently slid up behind Yu Wan, opening a gigantic mouth, ready to swallow him whole. His friends screamed a warning. The protagonist, noticing their reaction, turned around and came face to face with the abyss of the monster's jaws. Ignoring his friend's concern, our main character made a sword appear out of thin air and faced the evil spirit. With a single vertical slash, he dispatched the monster that tried to attack him. His two companions, who had their hearts in their mouths, could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Light, however, was left with his jaw on the floor when he saw the protagonist holding a sword. After all, he himself had strengthened his own sword with various attributes, preparing for when things got serious. As for the pink-haired girl, she had no idea the protagonist even knew how to fight with a sword. He, very humbly, explained that it wasn't quite like that. He said he was still far from being as good as Slight or Dako. Hearing this, the young woman smiled, finding his humility well-deserved and feeling proud of how much he had improved. But the protagonist didn't stop there. He kept advancing, alternating between shots with his weapon and sword strikes, destroying all the evil spirits that appeared in his path. The monsters just kept coming, only to be defeated one by one. Now, in addition to using Eve, he also wielded the sword with impressive skill. Every move showed everything he had learned up to that point. Smiling, the protagonist commented that, even though he wasn't the best, he was trying to evolve with every battle. After finishing off most of the spirits, he rested his sword on the ground and sighed, tired. He looked at the others and announced that there were no more enemies nearby, only the last one remained. With that in mind, he summoned Eve and transformed her into a chain, ordering her to bind the last spirit. With the monster immobilized, he said they could take a break before finishing the job. While they caught their breath, the white-haired young woman bent down and touched the remains of one of the defeated spirits. That's when she noticed something interesting. The edge of the protagonist's sword had melted and disintegrated the monsters. She quickly figured out that he was already using the abilities he had acquired in the previous room. Light also couldn't hide his surprise at what he saw. Dako, for her part, didn't hold back on the praise, saying that his last attack had been excellent. She began to think out loud, commenting that his style was much better than just swinging a sword around without any strategy. Slight got all annoyed with the comment and asked why she treated him like an amateur. In the middle of the argument, the protagonist reached into his inventory and pulled out a cold energy drink can. He opened it and started drinking calmly, laughing at the two of them fighting. Seeing this, his three companions glared at him. They all got angry, wanting to know what he was drinking, and of course wanting a sip. He just pointed at the can and said he didn't have any more, commenting that this type of drink could be bought outside. No one bought the excuse, after all. Unlike him, no one there could just go out and buy something. Upset, he put the can back in his inventory, grumbling that he would only use it again when he was very tired. This comment caught the attention of the white-haired girl, who decided to take the lead from that moment on. Realizing that everyone had rested, the protagonist hurried to destroy the last monster. At the same instant, a magic circle appeared under each of their feet. As they were being transported to the next room, the protagonist closed his eyes. He wanted to take a look at his own attributes. A window appeared in his mind, showing more than 10 different attributes. Seeing that, he got excited.